Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Good morning. Might be morning somewhere where you are. Today we're going to talk about dancing monkeys. What is a gyneolator? Gyneolator. Just about time. There we go. Let's see, I gotta push this back up again. I have one surprise for you all before I... Look, it's the return of the Greyhound cam. This is Ned. Ned is my new Greyhound. He's a sleeping boy right now, although now I just see his eyes. As soon as I say his name, he jumps up. Ned is 2 years old. He's my latest acquisition. He's a good boy. He's a little rambunctious, I will say that. He is a little bit of a handful. I have not had to deal with a puppy in a while. Certainly not one as old as Mr. Ned. So how are we doing today? Let me switch this back over and then we can actually talk. How's that? There I am. Hi guys. Gotta push this in. There we go. Just a quick caveat here. I might have to step away from the mic if Ned wants to leave the studio. He's sleeping right now, but that doesn't mean it's going to last forever. There you guys go. You guys like that intro music? I'll tell you more about that later. Just something I'm experimenting with. So today's topic, we're going to talk about dancing monkeys. I have written at least 4 different essays about pedestalizing women, I guess, is the best way to describe this. A lot of people will say, well, you're just a dancing monkey, or you're a pussy beggar, or you're a pussyhound, or you're whatever. That is part of a greater whole, I think. And so I'm going to discuss that a little bit today. No, we're not going to be talking about spinning plates. I'm sorry. That was another episode. If you really want to talk about spinning plates, you can go check out that episode. I did a whole thing for it. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Sam. Sam's on a different line today. Sam Bada is in the house. He is moderating the chat today. So say hi to Sam. He's the policeman for today. Let's see. Anything I need to take care of before I get going here? Oh, by the way, we're going to talk about a few things. The first one I wanted to get to, and because I said I would do this first things first, I'm going to put this up on screen real quick. Okay, so gyneolatry. I probably should have learned how to pronounce it before. Now I'm going to make that hypergamy mistake one more time, right? I just came across this word. Apparently this is going to be the new topic du jour, I think probably in the black pill or maybe in MGTOWs. I don't know, but I just came across this. And there's actually a English word for the worship of women. And as you can see, it's gyneolatry. So a gyneolator is a worshiper of women. So there you go. Now, that's your vocabulary word for the day. There will be a test at the end of this show. And there we go. So now you learned something. You always learn new vocabulary words on the Rational Mail, one way or another. The English language is such a rich language. It seems a shame that all we really need to know is where's a bathroom, FU, and where's a restaurant, Stop staring at my boobs. I don't know. So anyways, let me show you one more thing. I have to show you guys where I came across this. And this is, oops, that's not it. This is it. There we are. Like that. So apparently there's only 2 kinds of guys. There are 2 types of gyneolators. And this is according to, I don't know who put this up there, Black Pill, MGTOW, whoever hates PUAs, which is pretty much everybody except for PUAs, and even PUAs probably hate PUAs too. There are basically 2 types of gyneolators. Men who worship women, male feminists and pussyhounds. Externally, they appear vastly different. Internally, they are barely discernible. Internally, because you can tell what they are internally. They have many things in common, but one thing more than others: poor character. Something as objective as poor character. The male feminist and the common pussyhound will both throw other men under the bus without hesitation and without compunction or remorse. I would presume without compunction sort of sums that up. For sake of pleasing a woman, any woman, and gaining her favor. Well, you know what's funny is that kind of defines a lot more than just those two types of guys, but we'll continue. For this reason, they are unsuitable for friendships. They simply cannot be trusted. Never turn your back on a gyneolator. Well, why would you worry about something like that if you've decided that women aren't for you? Anyways, thought that was pretty interesting to throw it out there. That's where I found the term gyneolator. And honestly, just before I have to, full disclosure here, today's topic, I got the germ of the idea for today's topic from Troy Francis on yesterday's Rule Zero show. And what he was talking about was, I think we got into the topic of entertaining women on yesterday's Rule Zero, which was actually very, very good. It was actually pretty well received too. Gosh, we got up to like 600 or 700 live views, and that was on I think that was on John's channel too, which is a lot for John's channel. But apparently it struck a chord. And one of the topics that we were talking about when we were talking about like coronavirus and some of the I guess intersexual dynamics shifts that are happening as a result of people having to live with each other 24/7 and be stuck in the same house and not have responsibilities or whatever else it is that you want to call it. Thank you, NEO, for that $5. And so one of the things I brought up was, and this is just from not just from my own experience, but from a lot of guys who are relating things to me. Like I got my feelers out there, and when like big things like this happen, I would like to use it as sort of an occasion to get to do data gathering, I guess. And one of the data gathering efforts, I think, I don't know if it was Pew Research, but maybe it was Pew Research, but I forget who did the study. But we mentioned it yesterday on yesterday's show, and it was about how, irrespective of political stripe or religious stripe or sort of worldview, in a COVID world, in a post-virus world, men and women are shifting back. Surprise, surprise, they're shifting back to what I call conventional gender roles, not traditional gender roles. Tradition entails a lot of other things. It could be cultural, ethnic, whatever. Your tradition might not be my tradition, but there are conventional ways that men and women have evolved to sort of have our, to go with our natural proclivities. That's what I mean by when I talk about conventional gender roles or conventional masculinity or conventional femininity. And I try to make that distinction because I think the term traditional gets really tossed around too much, and it's a sort of a term of convenience. So that's why I use conventional, in case you guys were wondering about any of that. Let me throw this that way. There we go. All right. I hope you guys like that. The front. That's something I'm kind of noodling around with. Yes, thank you. So anyways, one of the things we're talking about is, one of the shifts that I'm seeing in a post-virus intersexual dynamics kind of world is this shift back towards men need to sort of sack up and go out there and kill the saber-toothed tiger or bring home the caribou meat or whatever, and women are seeing the idea of staying home with the kids and keeping the home and hearth once again seems to be a little bit more of a preference than going out and putting in the shoulder pads and playing alpha female. Oddly enough. And of course, I think a lot of that is going to be socioeconomic right now. Obviously, here in the United States, things are looking pretty bad economically because we're looking at probably the highest, if not the highest, unemployment rate Certainly in this century. I'm not sure about last century, but it's looking pretty ugly right now. And I think that a lot of the jobs that women, I said this yesterday, I'm just recapping here. A lot of those jobs that women went and incurred exorbitant, college tuition fees or college, college loans for. You want to know why debt forgiveness for college loans is such a hot button topic in this election? Well, now you see why. I think it's pretty obvious now. So you've got women coming out of college who have big time, college debt that they have to cover, and now those jobs that they were thinking were going to be around are no longer around. So yeah, maybe it looks like the guy who has the construction job or works in a trade, or maybe he's in STEM. Suddenly that guy's not such a bad choice anymore, at least for the long term. So sometimes social situations reprioritize. Hypergamy doesn't end; it doesn't stop, but the conditions that make up hypergamy get reprioritized. So bear that in mind as we move on a little bit here. But one of the things, another shift, I guess, that I was, and you guys can throw questions at me today. That's fine. I'll try to keep up with them as best I can. Like I said, I've got Sam in the house, so you can throw stuff at him or throw stuff at me. If it is off topic by then, I always have to say this, if it's off topic, I usually save your comments until after the show. But if they're on topic, I'm happy to talk about them. Or if it's timely, I'm happy to talk about those sort of in the flow here. So just keep that in mind. So anyways, one thing that I was talking about yesterday was the fact that most women don't really have much interesting going for them. I mean, very, very few. I'm not saying that all of them are like that. I'm just saying that the guys who are telling me what's changed in their home, in their relationships, in their marriages, in even just their, like, maybe it's even the single guys. It doesn't necessarily have to be guys who are like attached. Their experience with the women that they are either sort of quarantining with or are living with, they have to, I think one of the biggest challenges that they have is finding entertainment, right? I mean, what was it? I think it was Ryan was saying yesterday, that there was a push, or there's some sort of petition, or, it's probably some online, change.org or something like that, to make Netflix free. Because we're living in this, certainly this entertainment age, and that Netflix should be free. So that we can keep, the people who don't have any hobbies or have any life or have any passions or have any real, direction in life, that they can at least stay sedated and entertained while we wait for the end to come. I thought that was funny, and it sort of reminded me that a lot of guys, while they are happy to go work on their cars or happy to go do something on their own, I mean, it's like it's interesting. It's like the difference between like Mother's Day and Father's Day. When you look at Mother's Day, and I'm not going to, you can talk about things from a religious perspective, whatever. Like I've always make the comparison of like a Mother's Day sermon versus a Father's Day sermon. But I'm not going to do that this time. Here's what I was talking about is like, when you talk about like Mother's Day, what is it that mothers really want on Mother's Day? They want flowers. They want to go to brunch, maybe go to, they go to church and they hear a nice sermon about them. And, oh, we love our mothers. Let's lift them up. Let's praise our mothers, blah, blah, blah. And for the most part, women like to have that special day. Like, I'm a mom. Yay. We're all going to appreciate me today. And we're going to buy me pizza or whatever. I don't know how you go about doing it, but it's like, oh, let's celebrate mom. For Father's Day, from my experience and from the people that I know, now this is all anecdotal, I got that, but for the most part, and I think most people will probably agree with me, guys want to be left alone, right? I want to go fish. I want to go do the things that I like to do uninterrupted by either having to entertain someone else or having to solve other people's problems. Now, I've mentioned this before, is that most guys, and I'm going to come back to this today, so put this under your cap for a little bit. Most guys, well, I said men in general are problem solvers. We're deductive problem solvers. We see something, and that's one of the reasons why I believe, anyways, that men's natural proclivity is to have interests in things, whereas women are interested in people or themselves or communication, because women are wired for communication. They're wired for that interaction together, whereas for men, we're wired to solve problems. We're wired to put out fires. We're wired to build bridges. We're wired to affect our will on the outside world. And as such, I think that when we want to work on something, when we have an interest in something, we just kind of, I mean, either we want our bros with us to help us like work on a project, or we just want to, you know, we like to have a purpose, right? And that doesn't have to be some big, deep, meaningful thing. It can be just simply, you know, changing the oil in your car. That's your purpose for the day, right? But I think that the difference here is that women don't really have that entertainment thing that like guys don't really need that as much. I think I've mentioned this before, and I've done a whole episode on this. If you haven't seen it, it's called Indignation, or it's like something with indignation. I did a full episode on this show about women's need, and I believe this is an evolutionary need for women to have indignation. But also, you have to remember that women are addicted to attention. I've said this before, that attention is the coin of the realm in girl world. That is in book number 1. I brought that up because at one point I was studying child psychology, and I was watching my own daughter when she was a little girl, on how little girls interact with other little girls, and how sort of they form these peer clutches. And again, like I was saying before, women are more interested in people, men are more interested in things. And as a result of women being more interested in people, that communication is something that is, like, I think, intrinsically rewarding for women. So you got the other side, the flip side of that, which is indignation, is also intrinsically rewarding for women. The act of communication, of course, is rewarding for women, but also attention is rewarding for women. I mentioned this a little bit today in my Twitter feed. Just you can go see what I'm referencing, because I was sort of doing a build up for today's show. But attention is also something that you have to also keep under your cap for today. Okay. Because attention is, like I keep saying, I believe anyway, is an innate need for women. It's how women establish different like hierarchy levels amongst themselves, sort of how they sort of base their self-esteem, like how many friends do I have? Where am I going to go this weekend? Am I going to go with my girls? And I'm not saying that women aren't artistic or can't be, you know, creative or can't. In fact, a lot of them are, and a lot of them are very good at it. I think really, if there's a unifying human trait, it's our capacity, or it's like, I should say capacity, our potential to be creative, to put something together, to solve some problems and everything. It's not that women can't be problem solvers. I'm just saying that men's innate proclivity is to be a problem solver. Women's innate proclivity is to be communication. It's to be interaction. It's more, you know, if you look at what women choose as majors, it's almost like always psychology. Gosh, I was looking at stats the other day. Somebody sent me these stats that said, like, I think it's like 78% of psychology doctorals or post-grad degrees are women in psychology right now. So next time you look at the APA, keep that in mind too. Whenever the APA says, oh, masculinity is it's a personal disorder. Yeah, well, considering like almost 80% of the APA is women, not surprising. And probably the other 20% are guys who are like male feminists. So something to remember. But anyways, my point is this, is that for attention is something that women like to get, and they like to be sort of the, I guess, the benefactor of, okay? And what I mean by that is when it comes to entertainment, like here's the most common problem. And I've heard Roosh talk about this. I've talked about this. Royce's talked about this. All the old school red pill guys have talked about this. And it's something that's lasted for a very long time. And it's what's called the dancing monkey effect. Okay. It's like, I think Roosh way back in like 2013, 2014, he wrote a post about how he was getting sick of having to be a clown, and how he was getting sick of having to always entertain women, because that was what was expected of him, at least in the domain that he had chosen for himself. I've always said this, that Roosh, and a lot of, I don't want to just pick on Roosh, but like a lot of pickup artists, the early pickup artists, were what I call domain dependent. They would find a domain that worked for them, whether it was clubs or it was day game or meeting girls on campus or whatever, or social game. There's so many different like little sub environments of game that I can't even keep track of them, but you guys get what I mean. It's like that's their domain. He was very domain dependent. Okay, he did one thing, but in that domain, he always had to play the clown. He always had to play the guy who was entertaining. And in a sense, when you look at the early pickup artists, when you look at certainly Mystery Method and RSD and some of the more well-known ones, the idea is that you have to be engaging to some degree. And I'm going to read Royce's take on this here in a second, but I think what happens is like people will criticize PUAs as being, well, all you guys do is you're pussy hounds or you're pussy beggars because all you are is a clown and entertainment for that girl. Now, let me clarify a few things here. One of the reasons I wanted to talk about this today is because Troy Francis mentioned this on yesterday's show on Rule Zero, is that now in this generation, in this new generation that's coming in the new batch of 18 to 28-year-olds, this 10-year degree, right, or this 10-year decade span between, those ages in women right now, that generation of women see men today as part of what Troy calls their entertainment stack or their entertainment channels. And so it's almost as if women are I've said this before, women are casting agents, right? They're looking for that character. That's one aspect of that entertainment stack. So there's the guy, when it comes to things that entertain women, when you look at things like, say, like The Bachelor or these what I call indignation generating media, like, well, certainly pop culture, music, movies, anything that is directly focused and targeted at women. It doesn't even have to be focused and targeted. It's easier if it is, but in women's, and Troy, I really actually kind of wish I would have brought Troy on for this one today, because what I'm getting is this, and this is just sort of where my mind went, is that when we look at what it is that entertains us, I think the biggest challenge right now in this sort of post-virus world is like, what are we going to do to keep ourselves occupied, because we don't have jobs and we don't have we don't have the same things that sort of sucked up all of our time, and now we have to fill that space with something. Now, if you're going to listen to me, or you're going to listen to like Rich Cooper, or you're going to listen to some of these other guys who are kind of like these motivational guys, they're going to tell you, use this time wisely, right? Maybe you lost your job. Maybe this is an opportunity for you. Like, I'm using this opportunity in the lockdown to finish book 4 and to make it like the most kick-ass book I've ever written in my life. And in a sense, this whole post-virus crap is really helping me to refine my craft. And so I'm using this time as best I can to focus on my craft, on what it is that I like to do, whether it's, I've actually been researching like new cameras and light. Clearly lighting is not my my strong suit. So I've been learning about stuff, and you take this time to learn things. You can learn things online, right? I mean, we've never lived in an age where it's been easier to sort of increase your knowledge base. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to be a master of those things, but look at what's happening. This is, if there's a takeaway from this show, I want it to be this: look around you, and look at yourself, and look at your family, and look at the people that you're living with, and look at your friends who are online, and look at the people that you interact with on, maybe maybe you're on Instagram, or you're on Twitter, or whatever your sort of online consciousness is at right now. Look at the people that you regularly associate with. They might even be people that you used to go to work with quite a bit. And ask yourself, or observe. You don't have to be nosy or anything, but observe what it is that they're doing since the lockdown, since we've said, you know what, stay at home. Well, I need to go to work. Nope, no more work. I need to go to church. No more church. I need to go to the game store. No more that. No, I play in a band. I can't go play. I haven't done live rehearsal anyway. I've done rehearsal, but I've not done live rehearsal in almost 8 weeks now. Well, 7 weeks now. Can't do that. But what are the people that you are familiar with? What are they doing right now? Are they going, I'm so bored, help me, I can't? Or what are the women in your life saying right now? you know, or are they losing their minds, like trying to come up with the next cute TikTok video that will garner them more attention? Look at what it is that they're doing in a time when you can't do anything, when you're forced to rely on your own wits to either entertain you or to benefit you or to learn something from. Now, I can sit here and pontificate and tell you just how virtuous I am because I've decided to practice my craft, you know, as a writer. But okay, fine. I would hope that you would expect that of me. But what are your other friends doing? What are the other people that you know doing? And in particular, what are the women doing? What are the girls doing? Are they coming to you to solve problems that they just like created because they have nothing to do? Are they looking to you for entertainment? And that doesn't have to be women in necessarily. It can be your sort of, you know, your friends who have more of a beta feminized mindset. They probably will fall into the same trap, which is I need entertainment. I need entertainment. I need attention. I need whatever. And I don't think it's a coincidence that at the same time that we go into this lockdown, that a site like OnlyFans suddenly skyrockets with 60,000 new content providers in the month of March alone, and they're up to 3.5 million content providers in total right now. Why? Well, there's an idea that people want more entertainment, and in this case, maybe it's just girls selling their butt online. But it can also be that those girls who are selling their butt, they don't know what else to do with themselves. They simply don't have an entertainer. They don't have a clown, just as Roosh was saying. They don't have somebody to go there and be the dancing monkey. Ching, 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 ching. That's why I use that as the thumbnail, right? I mean, remember that in Zoolander? Dance for me, monkey! That's what it was, right? And I always thought, whenever somebody says, oh, you're a dancing monkey, that's the first place my mind goes to, is that part in Zoolander. Because it's funny, you know, that's what you expect, a little monkey with a organ grinder, right, or a tambourine or something, and this is shiny keys, right? You used to do that with your kids, shiny keys, you know, that was. But think about it in those terms. I mean, those are the I'm goofing, right? But those are the fundamentals that are underlying a need for attention. Look at me. I remember one time, and here's a personal story. I can remember one time I was out. I think I was on vacation. I was in Mammoth, California, and we were I think we were staying at one of our families. I was like, it wasn't a resort, but it was like a cabin or something like that. There was a pool outside, and I remember waking up to these little kids just shrieking, "Look at me! Look at me!" You know, and as the kids are on the diving board, and they got little water wings. They're, you know, fat little kids jumping in the pool, whatever. And I looked at that and I go, that is like the epitome of like, you know, like humanity. Like, it's like, look at me, look at me, look at me. You know, why do we do what we do? Do we do it because we have some like, is it intrinsically rewarding for us to do something? Or would we do it if we didn't get paid for it? Would we do it if there wasn't any attention attached to it? I mean, how can most women and men, I guess, certainly feminized men, can most feminized men and women really say that they would do something if they weren't A, paid for it, or they weren't B, they got some sort of attention or status from actually doing it? That's how you know when you're really into something. Like if you're like playing music or whatever, if you couldn't get laid and you couldn't make money on it, would you still play music? Then if you can say yes, you're probably an artist. So Sam Whiskey, what did you say? He said, "Hi Rollo, have you seen the dating documentary Muslim and Looking for Love?" No, I can't say that I have. It's a fascinating look at the London Muslim sexual marketplace. I will look it up though. I have a full section dedicated for Islam in book 4. I wouldn't mind actually looking that up. Thank you for that suggestion, Avram Young. Thank you for that $4.99, my friend. And I'm probably going to get dogged out of these things. Ethan, RSD. Is that Real Social Dynamics credits? Brent says, oh, shit. Sorry, Brent. Sorry, guys. I missed a few of you here. Brent says, have you ever known a truly red-pilled man to commit suicide? I don't know. It's hard to say. I would, up to this point, no, but I'm not saying it's not possible. My guess is no. A truly red pill man just understands what he's really going on and is not fooled. Well, I tell you this, one thing I would say is that identifies sort of a red pill aware perspective is knowing your value as a guy, like knowing what you can do. And I think that if you're truly red pill aware and I think most people who become red pill who actually are suicidal are really more black pill. And black pill, like I keep telling you guys, like I tweeted this out today and I stand by it. I said red pill, the red pill is a diagnosis. The black pill is a bad prescription. I don't think that it's a solution to anything. It's not a solution. MGTOW in the long term is not really a solution. Sorry to say. It doesn't, and I mean that in the sense that it doesn't bring men and women together. It would be great if there was something that was a little bit more like, how do we put men and women back together in a complementary relationship where, you know, each is respected and each is loved for the differences that separate them, right? And I keep saying this as, you know, and if you want to hold my feet to the fire, that's fine. But I keep saying that men and women we evolved to be complements to one another. Our mating strategies are most definitely adversarial, but once we come together, the best relationships, the healthy relationships, are the ones that are complementary, based on conventional understanding of gender roles and accepting and living into and living within those gender roles. So, you know, if you want to say, well, marriage, forget it, man, marriage is too dangerous. I agree with you 100%. That's the diagnosis. I get it. But what's the solution? What's the prescription? You know, how do you form a family under those circumstances? Certainly not by the prescription that the black pill has. I'll tell you that. Okay. And so when you're talking about suicides, are there truly any red pill suicides? Red pill, again, is an awareness. Red pill is not a verb. It is not oh, I got red pilled, man. No, it is a designation for sure. It's an understanding. It's an awareness. It's a praxeology. And sometimes guys aren't ready for that. A lot of times guys aren't ready for that. And so could you be red pill and kill yourself? Yeah, probably, because you become red pill aware, but you don't really cross the abyss to see the potential and the advantages and the opportunities that are available to guys who are truly red pill aware. So that's my statement on that. Avram Young, who else? Huff gave me 3,300 HUFs. I don't know what that is. I'm sorry, your name is not Huff. Your name is Akos Toro. He says, Rollo, you're a great man. Thank you for your work. Thank you. Thank you for the 3,300 Huffs. Huff. Sam Whiskey says, women's value of attention has gone up lately. Yeah, it has. That was in my show notes here. I'll get to that here in just a second. Resilient Man says, why did you want to talk to the Indian female MRA? Because she's done a really great documentary, and the part of book 4 where I talk about Indian men, and I mean Indian as in like in India, those, and Me Too in India right now is basically made the state of marriage like untenable in India right now. And a lot of women will throw rocks at me and go, you don't know what it's like. All the men are rapists out here. And it's like, no, they are all designated. They're by default, they're all rapists. Part of the documentary that she did, and I have not got all the way through it just yet, but it's pretty brilliant. I was going to interview her the week before, but she was moving around and she didn't have a reliable internet connection. But her name is Deepika Bardwaj, I think is what I'm probably butchering her last name, but she is a film producer, a film director. I think this is her second one, but the documentary she did was about just the horrible conditions for, like, I don't see how anybody, if you're an Indian man and you're watching this from like Mumbai, wherever you are, I don't understand. I don't see how any guy gets married in India right now, because I mean, it's literally that dangerous. Like if you start having sex with a woman in India, you better marry her, because if you don't, you're a rapist. That's basically how it works. And so that's why I wanted to talk to her. Yeah, people say, well, she's a female MRA. I don't think she's an MRA. I don't think she even identifies as an MRA per se. I think probably MRAs would love her to death because she's sort of doing their work for them, like pretty much every other feminist that has ever done anything for MRAs. But I wanted to talk to her because in my fourth book, I talk about Indian men for a little bit. It's not like I have some big, huge, chapter dedicated to it, but I talk about that for a little bit. I also talk about how Krishna, Hare Krishna, is very a very popular upcoming religion, I guess, with Western women right now. If you look at Tulsi Gabbard is a Krishna. And I didn't even think about I didn't even think about like Hinduism or Krishna or anything like that until I discovered that she was a Krishna. And so I started looking into it and I go, wow, there are a lot of Western women who are into Krishna. And so I started exploring that, and that's how I kind of came into contact with her. So there you go. Attention is greater than love for women. Yeah, it is. In some attention, let's say this, attention is more readily available. Let's put it that way. Because remember, women see love through an opportunistic lens. And again, I'm saying that as nice as I can. I'm just saying that women approach love from a position of opportunism. They do not allow themselves to become emotionally invested in a guy who does not in some way tick off enough boxes from her hypergamous filter, from her hypergamous checklist, or what Royce would call the 436 bullet point checklist. Asajai, I can't remember. San Haji, that's it. Asan Haji Mohammed says, is being friends with women gyneolaters? I'll tell you, I don't know, man. It depends on who you ask, right? Maybe even just talking to a woman is gyneolatry. Depends on who you ask, right? Because if you're talking to like certain militant MGTOWs, or you're talking to guys who are sort of the black pills or incels or whatever, I'm just saying on that side of the spectrum, I'm not pigeonholing anybody. I'm just saying there is that side of the spectrum. Just me being married, I'm a gyneolator, right? Me just talking to women, me to having any kind of relationship with a woman makes me a pussy beggar, right? Oh, you said something to them. You can take it that, people say, oh, nobody's that extreme. No, they are really, and they are that literal too. Brent says, have you ever known a truly, okay, we already talked about that. New to be fun. It's fine line ETA book. Oh, okay. Book's coming, man. Just when it comes, you'll know it. Let's see. Oh wait, let's keep going. I think I missed a few of these guys. I'm going to get back into the topic here in just a moment, but let's see if you hear. NEO says, hey, Rollo, I'm a day gamer and I love it and get good results. I'm not a fan of online dating apps because my experience, most women are HB4s to 6. Your thoughts on dating apps during COVID? I'm beginning to think that that's probably the only way you're going to be able to date is through dating apps. We'll come back to that one later on, NEO. I will come back to your spot. That's a little off topic. Do you think MGTOW is being invaded by incels? Yes. I also think MGTOW is becoming sort of the new brand du jour of sort of dating coaches or that grift. And by that, I mean, like it's a product. And if they can slap the MGTOW brand on that product, that coaches will do that. The reason I know is because they did the same thing to the red pill for a very long time. Now MGTOW is trending on Google. So if I were a guy who went to one of these seminars that says, here's how to convert your email list into sales, and it's convert, right? If I was that guy, if I was the guy who wanted to pretend I was a dating coach, or I wanted to put out an ebook that was all of 94 pages, and sell it, that's my product. Guess what I would put on the cover of that book? I would put MGTOW, incel, whatever the hot item, whatever the hot term is. And that's what I'm talking about here. I'm not saying that there aren't some guys who are sincere about what they do. I'm sure they are. And it's those guys who take a beating when it comes to this kind of stuff. I know, because I've been taking a beating for a while. And I know what's going to happen here. So let's head this off at the pass. because I get this in the freaking comments all the time. And what it is like, oh, well, Rollo, he just talks about MGTOW, or he talks about incel, or he talks about black pill because, it's impinging on his profits, right? Because MGTOW is the new hot thing. It's like, no, MGTOW is only a hot thing because the guys who are grifting on MGTOW right now are slapping that logo, whatever you want to call it, on whatever their product is. I don't care. People are going to buy my book no matter what. It's the Bible of the manosphere. I'm not, and I don't feel too bad saying that right now. I don't think people can't shit. Even the MGTOW, even the best MGTOW still reference my work. So it's like, I got nothing to lose by telling you what the truth is. The truth is is that MGTOW is just a hot brand. It's a trending term. I don't think that's any great secret. Incel is also a big trending term. Black pill sort of coming up. Go look at Google Trends and put in your favorite, your favorite terms, the banners you wave, and see how they trend. Yeah. And if I was a smart, savvy business guy who was just selling, if I was all about the hustle instead about objective truth, that'd be the first thing I did. And you know what? As soon as that wasn't hot, I'd go and find the next thing, because that's good business sense for those guys. And that's what they do, because it's all about the hustle. It's not about action. That's why they call it a product. You'll never hear me refer to The Rational Male or my books as a product. And you know how I know that? Because I've worked in products for a very fucking long time. I know what happens when salesmen get a hold of a good product. They can sell the hell out of it and make a lot of money off of it. But what happens is when you allow the salespeople to be in control of the product, that kills the company and crashes the company. And when you have those guys, well, you know what they do once it crashes the company? They throw that away and they go and they find the next product. So there you go. Yes, it is being invaded. It's being invaded by incels as well too, but it's also being invaded by a lot of different interests right now. So keep that in mind. What blue pill songs did you love but you can't listen to now after the red pill? Anything by REO Speedwagon, and more, I would say probably about 80% of Journey songs. There's a few, you'll know them when you hear them. I've always been into like hard grinding metal, and I'm not going to say that there aren't probably some. Man, there's a Slipknot song that is one of the most blue pill songs I've heard in a long time, and somebody will come up with it here in the chat really soon. This is Tiger the Brave. Good afternoon, my friend. Are some men never ready to be red pilled? Yes. And usually it's the guys who have built up their existence around staying blue pill. In the Matrix, the analogy was always this, is that, all the people that you're trying to unplug and everything, they become dependent on the system, and the system is the blue pill. The system is the Matrix, right? The system is your existence depends on you believing in certain things. And if somebody comes and challenges those, that's how we get ego investments. Then somebody comes along and challenges those, people will fight you and they'll kill you to stay in that system, because it's the only thing they know, and it's the only. So I tell guys this all the time. I'll just give this to you since you gave me 14 Zara Bookies, whatever those are. Be careful who you unplug. Be careful who you tell about the red pill. And when you do, never be overt about it. Use questions. Use the Socratic method, right? Lead them to the conclusion you want them to come to, and let the guy who you want to sort of evangelize about the red pill, let them come to the conclusions on their own, and then they will think, oh man, this is brilliant. I came to this conclusion on my own, instead of having it forced upon you. That's really what Socratic method is all about. You ask questions, of course, but it's leading that person to the conclusions that you like, leading the horse to water and then hoping they'll drink, basically. So there you go. Damn, guys, you guys are coming up with some good ones today. I really want to get back to this. Hold on. Klaus says, I met a 24-year-old religious Islam girl. She broke quite a few rules for me already, but for sex, etc., we have to marry. I did not plan to. Advice. Don't. There's your advice. There's your €5 advice. Don't. If you didn't plan to, remember, any woman that makes you wait for sex or by her actions implies that she was making you wait for the sex is never worth the wait. Imagine this. Imagine you go, screw Rollo. I'm going to go marry her so I can get laid. Is that how you're going to get laid? I don't know. You didn't say you're religious. I don't know. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. But If you are, you owe it to yourself to be as discerning as you possibly can, because that, by religious law, that's the only person you're ever going to be able to rely on sex for, unless of course you marry like 3 other girls like Abu American. But maybe that's not in your cards. Maybe you're not even religious. Maybe you're not Islamic. But if why would you need my advice? You know what you have to do. There you go. Damn it, guys, I'm trying to catch up. I really am. I always feel like I have to give you like your $4 worth. Oops, wait a minute. That's not it. Sorry. Oh, I missed one. Damn it. Okay, hold on a second. First Last says, dating app Plenty of Fish has new go live streaming feature that's exploring. I think you meant exploding. Watch through a red pill lens and you'll see it all. I would like your take on it. I don't know enough about it yet. Give me some time. First Last, I will look it up, especially now because it's sort of relevant to what we're talking about. Vinci says, do women essentially exercise male sexual strategy by riding the cock carousel since it's unlimited access unabated? Yeah, but for a different reason. You're right, but for the wrong reason. So what guys will say was, well, aren't they trying to be like men? No, more likely this is they're trying to extend their sexually viable years to find the right guy. Now, in the beginning, that might be true. Like, so you got a woman who's, let's just say a woman in her party years, 18 to 26, 28, somewhere in there, because I pegged the epiphany phase right about 29. Within that party years, most women aren't really interested in long-term relationships. You will never hear women complain about how infantile and commitment phobic men are when they're 23 years old, because they don't care. They don't care. Like, if you're a hot, attractive young woman between 21 and say 24 years old, you probably don't give a flying, what about how commitment worthy a guy is, unless you have some pre-existing condition like religion, or you come from a traditional family, or whatever your ethnicity is, or whatever. I'm not saying that there can't be like some social conventions or buffers that that prevent you from that, or maybe predispose a woman to look for a long term, but they don't. It's not as pressing then, let's just say. So when a woman is, say, 22, 23 years old, I'm sure they would probably love to have a guy who's looks like Tom Brady. And boy, we can talk about that one, can't we? Looks like, a hot guy that they would want to get with. And if that guy wants to be committed to her, that's like icing on the cake. But remember, the priorities are different when a woman is in her peak sexual market value years, when she's in that window, because that's when she's spoiled for choice. So when I tell guys, like, you're going to be at your peak sexual market value when you get to be about 36 to 38, somewhere in there, that's because it takes longer for guys to mature. But once you're there, that time of your life will be the time where you're spoiled for choice. You'll easily, much more easily, let's just say, have a sexual selectivity that you've never known in your life at that point in your life than you would at any other stage in your life, unless you again have some sort of mitigating circumstance. Maybe you're super rich. Maybe you're Prince. Maybe you're really super good looking. Maybe you're an actor. Maybe you have some talent, right? Those are outliers, but I'm just saying, on the bell curve, that's going to be when you should have maximized your potential for your own sexual market value. So when I tell guys, hold out, don't be monogamous until after you're 30, and even then, don't get married. Just be, if you want a girlfriend, then see how it goes, just so you have the experience of it, and then make the decision based on a better educated understanding of women's nature and your own nature. And so, I would tell women the same thing, right? But remember, men and women have different mating strategies. So for women, it's not so much like innately evolved wise. It's not so much how many guys can I bang, although that tends to be something that we do now, right? Because all of the buffers that used to be in place before the sexual revolution, all those are gone. So it could be, well, women want to have a variety, and I wouldn't doubt it, but they want variety for a different reason than guys do. They want variety because they're looking for the guy who is going to be their quality guy. They want the guy, because remember, hypergamy selects for quality, not quantity. Men are selecting for quantity. That's just how our bodies work. That's how our minds work. That's how our sexual orientation works. And I don't mean like as in like orientation. I mean like how we approach sex. We're scattershot, right? No one's ugly after 2 a.m. and we'll go slump busting just as easy. It's nice to have a really hot, 9 to bang and have her really into it. But 2 o'clock in the morning and the bar's closing and you were drunk, she was cute, and one thing led to another. Right? So for men, it's about unlimited access to unlimited sexuality, whereas for women, it's access to the best, to the guy who is the complete package, right? And so when women get on the cock carousel, it's not so much out of a need for unlimited access as it is to have a larger pool of guys who might be the one, who might be that guy, who might be the guy who is the complete package. That's why I always say that when women have higher notch counts, obviously the stats show that women who have higher notch counts have a higher incidence of divorce. They have a much more difficulty pair bonding or being in a committed relationship afterwards. And again, I've talked about this before. If you want the whole breakdown on this, I have a full episode on this channel dedicated to why a woman's sexual past matters. But long story short, the bigger a woman's pool of suitors or sexual partners was, the higher her probability is of becoming an alpha widow. Why? Because women focus on quality, not on quantity. Guys don't have a problem with pornography as far with respect to jerking off and being done with. That's why pornography is a big deal. I was just talking to Sterling Cooper, and if you haven't seen Thursday's interview with Sterling Cooper and Rich Cooper was with me as well, no relation. Sterling Cooper is an adult film star, video star. There's no film involved. An adult video star. Such as a star is. And we talked about that. We talked about, why it is that pornography is so popular. Well, it's because the male sex drive, the male sexual imperative, the male mating strategy is one where men don't have the same kind of investment that women do when it comes to the sex act when they have sex partners. Okay. I'm not saying that men can't catch feelings for a girl. They can, but women are far more likely to catch feelings for a guy than a guy is for a girl, at least if that guy is alpha and he has a lot of options. The guy who have less options tend to be the ones who are too easily to overtly commit to a woman, whereas guys who have options, they can separate themselves from the sex act. That's why pornography is kind of a thing for guys, because we can separate ourselves from it. We can get off, we can enjoy it, get off, and then go back to doing whatever it was we were doing. Whereas for women, it's like they get into it. There's an emotional connection there. It's separating emotions for women from the sex act is much more difficult than it is for men. So you're right, but for the wrong reasons. And Zach says, G'day, mate. Is that where you're from? I hope so. From Australia. Yeah, you are. That's funny. Sterling Cooper's from Australia too. First time watching, big love to you and Rule Zero crew. Julian Assange has. It's funny. I always have to make a mental note because whenever somebody says Julian, I think either Julian Blanc or Julian Assange has a quote on male feminists calling them predatory. Is it that or desperation on their part? I'm glad you asked, because that will get us back into our topic today. So I think when it comes to male feminists, if you wanted to in that, where to go in that, let's see, that JPEG I was looking at, that was one of the types, right? The male feminist, and then there's the PUA. Like there's no difference between the two of them. No, there's actually quite a bit of difference between the two of them. What I think happens is so you've got guys who are male feminists, and these are kind of like the simps. And I know that John from Modern Life Dating was doing a show on simps yesterday. And I think simp is starting to replace the term beta right now, but I think there needs to be a little bit of distinction between those two. I think beta is more of something that's kind of like an overall mindset, whereas a simp is somebody who is overtly sympathetic to women's needs. That's where the word simp comes from. Don't let anybody else tell you. I know we're supposed to be it's supposed to be an acronym right now, but I don't think that that's what it really started as. When I was using simp back in 2007, 2008, we spelled it SYMP, and it meant sympathetic is what it was. Sympathetic to women's needs, sympathetic to women's plight, sympathetic to feminism, sympathetic to identifying with the feminine. That's why we started calling them simps, because these were usually the blue pill white knight guys. And so I've said this before, there's a distinction that needs to be made between blue pill and red pill and alpha and beta. So you can be a blue pill alpha. And guys go, what? That sounds contradictory to me. How is she just saying all this kind of stuff? I can't believe it. No, here's the thing is that those are mutually exclusive. So how can he go and say these things? I don't understand it. Because we have this idea that if something is alpha, it has to automatically be red pill. There are lots of guys who are alpha who are very much blue pill. Those are the guys who are the worst white knights you'll ever want to know in your life. These are the guys that are the first ones to jump up for milady's honor. These are the guys who will take a bullet for a random woman. I was watching a video and I got into it with this chick. I think I mentioned this before. Maybe it was on Rule Zero. But somebody had put up this video. It was like a closed circuit television camera video. I think it was at a club. And this guy looked like kind of overbearing. He was having a fight with his girlfriend. And there was another guy. I think they were like outside the club, or they were like sort of like in the lobby of this club. And the guy looked like he was like yelling at the girl or whatever. And so the blue pill white knight, the blue pill alpha, gets up and gets between the two of them and tries to separate the thing and tries to drag the girl away from him, because he didn't, he wanted to defend milady, because that's what you're supposed to do, right? And it's funny, every goddamn tradcon jumped all up my ass for saying this, but I said that is exactly. So what happened anyways is the guy gets shot and he dies because the alpha dude shot the guy. And so he's on the floor. He's dying or whatever. The bouncer, I don't even know if he saw what happened, if he even knew that the guy had been shot, because this is like pretty dark club. And the girl goes with the guy, with the alpha guy, and who just shot this other dude. And they go out of the club. She basically still chooses him, and they walk out of the club. And here this guy is who tried to step in and be, defend milady's honor. And he's the one who's dying on the club floor right now. And it happened just like that. Just like that. For most guys, for most blue pill guys, for most blue pill alpha guys who want to, insert themselves into like back in the day, like things don't work out in real life like they do in the movies, man. I know that that's what you're supposed to do, right? Well, I will take a bullet for her. I'm like, you would take a bullet for a random girl who chooses to be with this guy in the first place. And because that's what you're supposed to do. And there were tradcon women who were coming into that discussion saying, yeah, I think that's great. More guys need to do that. And guys are like, the fuck? Take a bullet for some girl that you don't even know, some random girl in the club, and you don't know what the situation is. But the thing here is that for that blue pill mindset, for the guy who's alpha, but he still has a blue pill mindset, the decision to put yourself in what is most likely a potentially very dangerous position. And you don't know that the guy is packing or not, but you don't think about that. All you think about, here's the thing, is that the caution that you would have to insert yourself into a situation like that, the caution that you would have, like the foresight, the insight that you would need to say, should I go put myself in between those two? Should I go defend her? That conversation doesn't happen. He just, bam, just gets up, goes and does it. And that's it. And he's done, and he's killed. And it just because there's that knee-jerk, almost like spontaneity that blue, and maybe you add a little alcohol to it too. I don't know, but the guy gets shot, and he didn't know that was his last night on Earth. But that's all. And I'll tell you why he's dead is because that mentality, that protector instinct that is in men, superseded anything else that would have come before. And that's why I keep saying it's very important to kill the beta and to make yourself your own mental point of origin. And of course, every woman in the chat was just like, I can't believe he'd say wrong. Rollo just he's not chivalrous, Well, chivalrous is one thing, dead is another. So So there you have it. But I looked at that and I was thinking, okay, well so there's your alpha, and there's a blue pill alpha, and there's a red pill alpha, and there's being smart about things. That's why I keep trying to emphasize the idea that it is red pill is an awareness. Red pill is not a verb. Red pill is a designation. So when you become red pill aware and you're thinking a little bit more critically and you see things through a red pill lens, hopefully you have second thoughts about that. You're at least conditionally aware of what's going on. So you can be blue pill, you can be very blue pill and be alpha, or you can be red pill and you can certainly be beta. There's a lot of red pill guys who would in no way consider themselves to be alpha. I mean, shit, I mean, pretty much every black pill guy that's out there considers themselves to be, a beta, but they're definitely red pill aware. They just choose to use the information differently. They have like I said, the prescription is a bad prescription. The diagnosis is correct, but the prescription is wrong. So there you go. Now I answered that, but it kind of gets back to some of the other things I was talking about here, because like a gyneolator, a man who worships women. I think a lot of this gets overblown. I think it's too easy to designate somebody as a gyneolator, because just me being married for almost 24 years, that makes me a gyneolator, pussy worshiper, pussy beggar. Are you a pussy hound or are you a pussy beggar? What's the difference between those two? Well, you're always after pussy and you're always doing so. I think what a lot of guys will say, particularly in, it's a MGTOW probably, but most definitely black pill. I think I'm not going to, I can't wipe this off on MGTOW. This little meme that I picked up here, I'm pretty sure this is black pill. So I'm going with that for right now. But it's like, oh, don't trust those guys because they're always after pussy. Like, remember when your best friend finally got a girlfriend and he stopped talking to you? Do you still talk to that guy? Is he still around? Like the guy you knew in high school or maybe in college, and you guys were inseparable, and then he got a girlfriend, and now, oh, well, I got 2 kids, and he never, maybe you get a card from him around Christmas time. Bulletproof coffee, once again. MCT oil all over my goddamn lips. So, oh, God damn it. You ask really good questions, but they're always off topic, man. You know what I should do? I should just have a YOLO Q&A show. How's that? We'll do that one next. Would you like that? Would you like that? Like, what's the difference between a pussy hound and a pussy beggar, right? The pussy hound, like I would say that the pussy beggar is the male feminist, right? And the pussy hound is the stereotypical PUA. And I love how they use Mystery's picture from 2002 with the fuzzy hat and the top hat and the feather boa and the black nail polish and feathers shooting out his ass, elevator boots, right? That's a PUA, right? That's what they all look like. So so if you see one walking down the street, you'll go, oh, stay away from that guy. Trust me, PUAs don't look like that anymore. Like anybody, in fact, I would say the PUA scene has died. It's done. At least from the respect that guys would classically think of a PUA. Now, game is still very much alive and well. Whether or not a pickup artist is something that is legitimate in 2020, I don't think so. But game is very much legitimate and is very much used, and you can call them PUAs. And see, now, thing is, PUA is now an invective, right? You call, oh, you're a PUA, and it can come from anybody, and it doesn't have to be like, I've heard like people will call me a PUA all the time. Oh, that Rollo, he thinks you should go get with women. He must be a pussy hound. Right? He's going to teach you how to learn about women's nature, so you can actually talk to them and learn about them, and maybe even like start a conversation with one. He must be a pussy hound. Now he's a PUA. There's something wrong with this guy. I can't believe he'd march into the slaughterhouse. Oh, you do whatever the hell you want to do with the tools that I give you. If you want to be a PUA, please, by all means, knock yourself out. But if you want to use this to save your marriage or to just improve your life as a MGTOW or MRA, I'm cool with that too. But I'm not a PUA. I don't have any PUA products. I have endorsed, I guess. I don't know if you really want to call John from Model Life Dating, body language mastery is just to help you learn what body language is. Again, how you use that is up to you. It improves your life, and maybe it improves your work life and your career. Maybe it gets you laid. Who knows? That's not what it's about. It's whatever you're going to use it for. But because I talk about how to maybe occasionally talk about techniques and why they work. I mean, that's what really got me into it. I'm by no means a PUA, but again, those are prescriptions. So PUA is a prescription. Red pill is a diagnosis. PUA is a prescription. Whether it's good or it's bad, it's kind of up to you. I personally think PUA can be good, but it can also be very bad if all your focus is on nothing but game. MRA, I think the MRA has, I think their heart's in the right place. I just think their mind is not in the right place. I think they believe a lot of lies. I think they believe a lot of bullshit egalitarian, stuff, utopian fantasies to be like, for me, MRAs want to be more perfected feminists. They want, women, feminists couldn't get gender equality. Give me that. We'll do it ourselves. And we'll give all these other former feminists the chance to do it for us. I'm like, no, I mean, there's a reason why MRA has never really made any kind of real, substantial inroads. They talk about stuff all the time. That's great. Again, it's diagnosis, but the prescription's wrong. MGTOW, I mean, depends on what your definition of MGTOW is. MGTOW definitely red pill. MRA, sometimes some of them are red pill. PUA is definitely, I would say, if you're going to use game, you definitely have to understand red pill pretty thoroughly. Black pill's just red pill and with the wrong prescription. That's all. So what does that make you? Like if they say, well, you're a PUA is like, amongst all of those, if somebody says you're a PUA, it's like this boogeyman. It's like, oh, you don't want to be a PUA. Here, let me show you what my product is over here. There has to be I forget who said this, but if there is no boogeyman, nobody gets paid. And so you don't get anybody to join your tribe if there isn't somebody outside your tribe who you go, we don't like those guys. Those game guys. What are we going to do about them? They're leading guys to the slaughterhouse. So the reason I'm bringing this up, and it sort of slides into the dancing monkey thing here, is that a lot of guys will say that if you do anything for a woman, if you do anything whatsoever for that woman, that makes you a dancing monkey. That makes you the clown that Roosh was talking about. That makes you the guy who is who's doing the dancing, who's doing the entertainment. It's you fitting into what Troy called her entertainment stack, her entertainment channels. There's Netflix, and there's Amazon Prime, and then there's OnlyFans, and then there's Instagram. Oh, and then there's my boyfriend, and then there's right, and it's the boyfriend is part of that entertainment stack. And if boyfriend is closed, she'll go to Instagram. If Instagram is closed, maybe she'll go to The Bachelor. If The Bachelor's closed, and that's what we're seeing right now in this post-virus world, is like a lot of the channels in women's entertainment stack are being closed. And so what do? Well, how come my boyfriend won't entertain me? Nothing's on. Netflix should be free. Go do something about it, honey. Here, take a picture of me. Like what happens when we've talked about this before. Rich and I have talked about this before. Remember, we talked about Instagram boyfriends. What happens when a woman's boyfriend, who is part of her entertainment stack, is actually contributing to another entertainment stack, which is getting that attention from Instagram? I keep telling guys this is like when I talk about indignation, and I said this in the indignation channel, or excuse me, the show segment that I did. Men need to be women's drug dealers, and by that I mean that indignation, the chemical rush that women get from indignation is just that. It's a chemical rush, but they'll happily get it from any channel, any part of their entertainment stack that they can get. It would be better if they got indignation from the boyfriend, so that she's constantly focusing on him, and then that puts him in a better position, as a guy. But what happens to the conversation at this point is if If I say you need to be your wife, your girlfriends, or the girls, it doesn't even have to be your girlfriends, a girl, your plates you're spinning, you need to be so interesting that you are part of that entertainment stack that she wants. She's like, I really like that channel. I really like the boyfriend channel. I really like the spinning plate channel. I really like that guy because he entertains me, but it's not so much entertainment as, I mean, entertainment is one thing, but then when you get to an emotional investment in that entertainment, that's when plates start spinning themselves. So when and I talked about this in plate theory not too long ago, guys will say all the time, Rollo, I can't spin plates because I just could never do that. Well, when somebody says I can't spin plates because I'm just not like that, what that says to me is I'm too beta and too blue pill to ever consider doing something like that. But when guys tell me, Rollo, it's just not feasible. It's just not attainable for me. I can't keep up with it all. I can't be a dancing monkey for all of these girls all the time. When they tell me that and they go, well, I'm just going to stick to one because it's just too much effort to have more than one in my roster at one point. And what I tell these guys is, say, you're not spinning plates at that point. The reason you're not spinning plates is because when you get to a point when game becomes something that's internalized to you, and when the red pill and having red pill awareness, using the red pill lens, when that becomes second nature to you, plates will spin themselves. You will be entertaining without having to be entertaining. How cool would this be? How cool would this be, Mr. MGTOW? How cool would this be, Mr. Black Pill? How cool would this be, even Mr. MRA? Wouldn't it be awesome if all you had to do was be interesting? All you have to do is do the kinds of things you like to do, or to be whoever, be yourself. Wouldn't it be great to just be yourself, and women would just like drop their panties for you? That'd be awesome. But what happens is guys have to, most guys, irrespective of whether they're whatever tribe they're a part of, or whether they're blue pill or red pill, guys will always compete with other guys. We're deductive problem solvers, and part of solving our reproductive problem is that there's other guys that want the pussy that we want. There's other guys that want to get with the women that we want. Again, like I said, wouldn't it be awesome if you could just walk into a room and people go, it's Rollo, hey, let's go fuck. Okay, awesome. I'd be happy to, right? Wouldn't that be cool? That's not going to happen. That doesn't happen that way. And I wanted to read this real quick because this is a common thing that I think I might have read this before, but this is, Royce had a very, very good column, and this is from back in 2009. And this is how old this stuff is, by the way. Okay, so it was called The Unbearable Triteness of Hating. And in that blog post, he lists, I think, like 17 or 18 different ways that people who are sort of outside the red pill, and this used to be just like feminists and blue pill guys, now it's guys from within the red pill as well, but there's all these different varieties of hate that are the same ones that keep coming up, and they were so common that even back in 2009, 2008, 2009, you could identify all of these, and you know what? You could still identify all of them still right now. So number 16 was this. It was called dancing monkey hate. That's where I came up with if you go and you look in the description here, I've got in the relevant links, I put in some essays that I think are relevant to this conversation here. But number 16 was this, dancing monkey hate. And this is what the hater says. He says, men who run game are just doing the bidding of women. Alphas don't entertain women. Now that's one thing. Another thing is like, well, I don't want to be, if you're entertaining women, if you're actually making an effort to try to get women to like you, that's entertaining them. That in some way you're playing a character. I've said that before. Like, I played a character back in my rock star 20s that women wanted to bang, that women wanted to have something to do. They wanted to at least put that on their bucket list. Oh, I banged the guy who was a rock star and a semi-pro rock star back in Hollywood back in the 80s and 90s, right? So what happens is guys will see that and they say, well, you're just doing that because you're playing up to women. You're doing what they want. You're making women the metric of your life. And I disagree with that. I think it's one thing to make women like your mental point of origin. But if you do certain things, like certain guys, certain personalities, certain ways that men are going, certain characteristics, certain aspects of men's personalities of just being conventionally masculine are always going to be either arousing or attractive to women. And sometimes you will do those without even knowing that you're doing those. So are you doing them because, well, they're intrinsically rewarding. B, it's something that you do for yourself because that's what you really like. Or C, you're doing it because chicks dig it, right? How about all three? What if you do it for all three of those? Are you still being an authentic, genuine guy? This is why I say that you will never escape having to entertain women. At some point, you will entertain them. And this is what Royce says. Okay, so the hater says this, is men who run game are just doing the bidding of women. Alphas don't entertain women. If you want success with women, you're going to have to entertain them. Now, that's the operative here, because if you want success with women, you will have to entertain them. You'll already be in that. I would go one step further and say you will always entertain women on some level, like by order of degree. You will entertain women, or you won't, but you will be there and they will consider you. That's why I keep referring back to the burden of performance. And I even put that in the topic of today's show. So it says, if you want success with women, you're going to have to entertain them one way or the other. The same is true of women. Once a woman stops being entertaining entertaining men with, or stops entertaining men with her body, her femininity, and her commitment worthiness by getting fat, old, ugly, bitchy, or single mommy, she stops having success with men. We are all doing the bidding of our biomechanical overlord, and on our knees to his will, we surrender by force or by choice. You fool yourself if you believe you have some plenary indulgence from this stark reality. Or if you can't beat him, join him. So I've seen this come up so often that I've had to sort of reconsider it over the years about what's dancing monkey hate. And the reason why I keep seeing this come back over is it's very easy for guys who are sort of selected out or self-selected out of what they think of as the sexual marketplace. Still, somewhere in their lizard brain, they have to find some way to compete with guys, with other guys. In fact, they get pissed off when you do that. Like if you become MGTOW, or you become a black pill guy, or if you become one of the tribe that is like, we're not going to entertain women anymore, we're going to go do our own thing, however that is, I don't, whatever you want to call that. If that's you, at some point you're expecting the guys that are with you, that are in your tribe, won't be competing with you, that they're on the same team, like they are all of the same mind. So like when I heard all the stuff that was going on with DDJ and all the crap that had happened with him entertaining girls while at the same time trying to pitch the idea that he was this, MGTOW. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, count yourself lucky. Okay. But anyways, well-known MGTOW guy, I think people know the guy very, pretty well anyways. But it turns out that he's basically your average common pussy beggar. And not even just the average common time, but a very hardcore pussy beggar. But at the same time, he's playing the role of being this MGTOW, or this guy that people in that tribe are looking up to. And I think that there is within those kind of tribes, or within those kind of groups, where it's like, we're not supposed to compete with one another. If we all have solidarity and we're all on the same team and we all agree that we're not going to entertain women, then what are you doing talking to them? Then what are you doing on that side of the playground? What are you doing trying to find some way to expressly please women? And that was part of today's sort of lesson here today, is like, for feminists, the prime directive of feminism has always been this: never do anything for the express pleasure of a man. But what do we tell? What do MGTOWs tell guys? What do black pill people say is pussy begging? It's doing anything. It's using women as the metric of your life, right? You're doing something nice for her. That means that you must be in some way trying to entertain her. If you brought her flowers, you took her to the dance, right? You did whatever. You did anything for. If you do anything nice for, you do anything nice for your mom, then you're suspect of being a pussy beggar or a pussyhound. And I think that, like, if I'm going to be critical of women, for feminist women, for their prime directive, I've got to be critical of guys as well. I think that you fool yourself in thinking that you will not ever, you can in some way exclude, disqualify yourself, exclude yourself from the sexual marketplace, because men have a burden of performance. And even if we're not talking about a burden of performance in respect to women, just being a guy, you're born into a dominance hierarchy. And guys understand that from day one, because, like I said, men are interested in things. We understand status. We understand merit. Women tend to be more socialistic. They tend to be more collectivist, right? It's all about the peer clutch. Whereas for men, we look at guys as by order of degree. And that's just something that is a natural part of being conventionally masculine. So you take a group of guys who don't know how to interrelate with men in the first place, and then you put them all into a tribe and you say, okay, guys, we're all going to do the same thing. We're all going to be part of this group. And one of the rules of this group is that we don't do anything to entertain women. Everything that could possibly be connotated with entertaining women, that becomes the prime directive. Right? It's well, you did this or you did that, or you're Rollo's a PUA because he said something like, here's how you can get laid. I can't believe he'd say something like that. I can't believe you tell a guy how to get laid. Oh, let's see. What do you got here, YOLO? Would you please explain what honor and morality is? In 10 hours and how and why it's different between men and women. Maybe make a show about it. Thanks. How about I write a book about it? Because there's a whole chapter dedicated to that in book 4 right now. Matter of fact, I was just working on it before I came on here. Let's see. Who have I pissed off? Let's see. Jesus. Okay. How many guys have I missed here? Rollo, here's the difference. Hounds hunt and they don't beg unless taught. Well, okay. Tiger the Brave says, sorry, say it makes her an alpha widow. I think you're probably referring back to your other thing. Nathan. Oh, I can put that one on. Nathan says, huge metal fan. Are most metal fans red? Are most metal fans red pill? No. I wish I could say they were. Let's say of music fans, they are the most red pill. But are they mostly? I don't know. Maybe now they are. Don't see many blue pill guys liking old school Opeth. Yeah, okay. Blackwater Park, best album ever. Yes, I agree. I like Ola. I watch his Ola Englund. I watch his email or his YouTube channel quite often. Drape Toman says, do you feel when we accept we've entertained a woman, we've also accepted some level of validation from that woman? Okay, let me explain something to you about validation. And this goes back to a post that I have, and you'll find this in the relevant links that I put on there. I think that what happens is you get to this point where guys will always say that you that I put on there. Hang on, get rid of that. Okay. The problem with like my new board is like anything that goes on my computer ends up echoing. So here's the deal. What I see happen is this, and this is not, I'm not gonna wipe this off on just MGTOWs because I see MRAs do this a lot, is they presume that any sex that you're having is meaningless, right? If you're a guy and you can solve your reproductive problem and you can do so with a lot of women whenever you want to, or you can spin plates. When you see something like that, when blue pill beta men see something like that, and they don't necessarily have to be, you could be red pill, but you still be beta. When they see a guy who is really good, like a natural, or a guy who can, like a PUA, I think one of the reasons why PUAs get a bad reputation is because that guy represents sort of an ideal. The ideal is that I figured out the game well enough that I can trick women into having sex with me on a pretty regular basis. And it's that there's a part of that trickery, because I think most blue pill guys are dedicated to monogamy. They're dedicated to to virtue signaling, to being virtuous. They make their necessity a virtue. They can't get laid regularly. They can't solve their reproductive problem with any regularity. So what most of them do is they focus on one thing. They put all their eggs in one basket. It's what I call the sniper mentality. The sniper mentality is the guy who finds one girl and he does his best to prove himself to milady, like prove my quality to milady, right? And so he does all these things, and it's acts of devotion, and it's really based on, if you think about it, it's based on the ideal of courtly love. which is I got to do all these acts of dedication and devotion and to prove to her that I'm the perfect boyfriend and that I'd make a great father and that I'd make a great husband and I'd be fun in the sack. And I do all these things, and I'm the full package. How come you can't see this? How come you keep banging these asshats in your party years when I'm right here? I will be perfect for you. I'm going to write you a song. Hey, it's going to go to #1 on the top 40 charts, right? I could make a career off of being the guy that you want me to be. And I'm going to show you guys a video here in just a second. It's going to make you hack up in disgust. But this is the guy that I'm talking about. These are the guys who will put all of their life and all of their existence into playing that part, being that role. So what happens is when a guy dedicates his life and his religious sense and his blue pill conditioning and everything goes into this image of his own personality that is, I'm the perfect boyfriend. I want to be the best that I can be. And we all, like, you know, that it's no surprise when you go and you talk to, like, say, Rich or, you know, somebody else. I say, well, you need to be the best version of yourself. For these guys, the best version of themselves is to be the perfect guy. I got to be exactly what she wants. And in that case, yeah, that guy's probably a pussy hound. That guy's probably a pussy beggar, but he is a pussy beggar of one girl, only one. And he will do anything to get with that girl. And so when he sees a natural, or when he sees a pickup artist, or when he sees somebody who can very easily, or more or less with you know, relatively easily solve his reproductive problem, and not with porn. when he sees a guy that can do that, that shakes a guy's existence. That guy's the enemy. That guy will have meaningless sex with you. I'm the one who does all these things. I created this life for myself, and I built a business, and I was raised by a good dad, and my mom, I love puppy dogs, and I love Disneyland, and I love rainbows, and I like going hiking and going for long walks on the beach. I'm the perfect guy. Why is she banging these guys? Because they know something that you don't. Right? They have something that they figured something. They hacked the system. They have the cheat codes. They figured something out. That's the belief, anyways. And that's not fair. And so, because that's not fair, because every guy, if they were noble, real, good, virtuous men, they would do exactly the same thing I'm doing. They would go to church on Sundays, and they would be, you know, bring flowers to their mom and love puppy dogs or whatever else. They would be more like that. But if they're not like that and they're being rewarded by solving their reproductive problem, there must be something wrong with them. They have to, the sex that they're having has to be disqualified. The girls that are into those guys, into the PUAs or into the alphas or into the chads or whatever, that sex has to be disqualified. There has to be something wrong with it. It can't be valid. It's not valid sex, because if it's valid sex, it would be happening the way I want it to, you know? If it was valid sex, it would be blue pill, sniper mentality sex, right? It would be, you save yourself till you're married sex. It would be, and maybe not just that, but I'm just saying that it would align. Like if everything was right in the world, if it wasn't for this moral degeneracy and this lack of virtue, and everybody would be more like me, and they wouldn't be like that guy who's getting rewarded with this meaningless sex. And it has to be meaningless, because if it's meaningful, then he's failed. He's invested his entire existence in something that is a failure. And that's the biggest problem that most blue pill guys have when they come into contact with the red pill. When they first most guys, you know, they come into contact with the red pill, it's usually because their sniper mentality. The girl goes, I like you as a friend. I think of you as a brother. So sex with you would be like incest. So let's just be friends. Can we just be friends? And now all the things that he's done, and even the things that she does, like most women, like they think that like nice guys are just doing those things because they want to present this image of being a nice guy so they can get in their pants. What most women don't realize is, for the 80-20 rule, the 80% of guys who are the nice guys, who are blue pill, who are investing themselves in virtue and virtue signaling and making their necessity of virtue, those guys, there's all this stuff that's like, women only see the surface of the nice guy. They don't see all the mental gymnastics that guy went to just to get to the point where he could take a shot with her. Where you could go, yeah, well, you know, hey, I'm the perfect guy. I know you've been banging these guys, but what about me? And that's when she goes, well, you're so great. Any girl would be lucky to have you. I'll tell you what, if we're both single at 30, then we'll get married. How about that? But until then, I'm on the cock carousel. They're not going to say that, but that's the mentality. But prior to all of that happening, prior to that conversation, prior to his approach and his rejection, there's in most cases, for most guys who are like really invested in what's called strategic pluralism theory. What that means is that the guys who are the betas, the beta male guys, the guys who like the 80, we keep calling them the 80%ers, right? The 80% of guys who have to really bust their ass and do something with themselves and improve themselves and make themselves more marriageable and more attractive and everything. All those guys who put a lot of energy into that. They do that because they're making up for the fact that they're not like the 20% of guys who don't have that incentive, or maybe they do, but they have less because it's easier for them to get laid. And so those 80% guys build into, what the hell is this? Okay. Those 80% guys build into their existence, their life, how they view women, how they view their families, how they view whatever marriage they potentially could have. All of that is based around one thing. There should only be one monogamous marriage, and it should just be me and her, and babies will come after that. And it's this very virtue centered ideal. And any woman that doesn't align with that, she's a low quality woman. And any guy who doesn't align with that, he's a pussyhound, or he's a pussy beggar, or he's just having meaningless sex. And that's kind of a trip too, because when guys say, "Well, you're having meaningless sex," or "You're having that sex is not valid," or you want a good hot girl because you want to validate yourself and feel good about yourself. Well, who doesn't want to feel good about themselves? But second of all, no. Most guys have sex because it feels good and she's hot. My notch count is no secret. So of the 43 women that I've had sex with in my life, not one of them did I go, I can't wait to get her in the sack so I could show her off to my friends. I wanted to get laid. I wanted to have sex. The idea of having sex with her was pleasing. I wanted to do, I wanted to get with my wife. People say, "Well, how did you vet your wife?" Well, she had a nice ass and she had pretty nice tits and she was into it and I was into it, and she had nice blonde hair, and I looked at her and said, "I'd really like to tap that." That's my vetting process, right? "Well, you had meaningless sex." Yeah, 24 years later. So for somebody to say, "Well, you're only having sex to get validation," validation is like, it's a container word. Like even Ryan, I think Ryan would agree with me. It's a container word. Whatever you put into that, and whatever means something to you, whatever serves your purpose, is validating. Now, I do believe that there is such a thing as validational sex and there's transactional sex. Okay, so when a woman has sex, it's either transactional or it's validational. And don't confuse these two here. Okay, when I say validational sex for women, I mean that it is. I use that because people kept saying, "Well, you got to get validation from sex." Well, okay, validational sex for women is the sex they want to have. They desperately want to have, and it's not because they want to feel validated by that sex. It's that I should just call it like carnal sex or short-term sex or whatever. But that validational sex for women is the sex they want to have because the guy is hot. He is hot, and it's a hypergamous opportunity that is right there in front of them, and by God, they're going to go have sex with that guy no matter what the consequences are. Then there's a transactional sex. Transactional sex is a sex that women have usually with beta guys, because there's an exchange of resource, or there's a potential exchange of resource, whether it's in the moment or as in prostitution, or at a later date. Was it Steel Panther has a song called "Pussy Ain't Free"? That's transactional sex. Go look at the lyrics for "Pussy Ain't Free." But anyways, so when I talk about transactional versus validational, I'm using that. That's sort of an abstraction. I probably shouldn't use the word validational, but for women, when they feel validated by sex, it's usually because it was a very satisfying sexual experience for them. They were, I was talking to Sterling Cooper, and when we were talking about how he upped his game in his porn video shoots, it was because he became more dominant. He took control of the shot. He took control of the women. He took control of the sex and the situation. And it's exactly what he said 98% of the women wanted. And so he said the difference between a hot sex scene and just sort of a meh sex scene was the energy that he brought to it, like this sexual dominant, and let's just say, I hate using the term energy, but that's probably the most appropriate thing I can think of. And I don't mean that in the woo-woo magical terms. I mean that in like the dominant incentive, or the feeling that goes along with that, like where he's the one who's taking control. It's command presence. That's a really good one to throw in there as well. So what guys will do is they will say, well, you're letting the big head do the thinking for the little head. Like that's a form of intrasexual combat. And that's how guys, by the way, that's how most guys, like guys fight, usually they fight in the physical. When guys are fighting, it's usually they go at it, and then hopefully they pick themselves up, shake hands, pick each other up, and go have a beer, right? And that fighting is a physical thing, and if they haven't killed the guy, then that's usually sometimes I say, fighting forms strong friendships between guys. But then there's the type of fighting that is sort of like women when they fight, it's usually in the psychological. Women can hold a grudge way longer than a man will, way longer. Like I remember when that bitch was 6 years old and she did this to me on the playground. Like you will hear women say that. And women fight in the psychological, but you know who else fights in the psychological? Men who have been feminized to think in terms of female correctness. Men who were boys who were raised as defective girls. Men who have been taught to prioritize feels before reals. So you'll get guys who will fight like women. They'll fight like girls. And the guys that fight like girls are usually the ones who are going to tell you you're having meaningless sex. Why would a guy want to say that? Well, like he doesn't care about me. He just cares about like making himself feel better because he thinks that I'm having meaningless sex, even though I'm getting laid like tile, and he's still trying to figure out how to bang one girl. So I must be after validation, and yet he's still sexless. Or maybe he's married and he's trying to get his wife to, he's in a sexless marriage. He's trying to get his wife to bang him. So, well, I might be in a sexless marriage, but at least I'm not having meaningless sex, right? That's disqualification, and that's what women do. And that's a female form of intrasexual combat. So one of the reasons why women will shame each other way more often than men do, and then men will shame women, is because it's a form of disqualification. It disqualifies women from the consideration of guys who they would want to get with. So when a woman says, oh, you like her? She's such a slut, right? Or the first thing that happens is when you have a group of girls in their peer clutch and another girl comes into the social situation, what happens with the girls in the peer clutch? They go, I can't believe she wore that. Oh, gosh, can you imagine? Imagine being like that. I heard she banged that. So this gossip starts coming out, right? And that's why one of the sins of women, right, is gossip. Why? Because it's a communication sin. It's a sin that can be directly attributed to women, but you can also say guys do it too, because we have feminized guys to be like women. And so what happens is the boys who are raised as defective girls become men who are defective women. And how do they fight? They fight in the same way of disqualifying. So when a girl sees another girl, when a group of girls sees another girl, what are the way that they intrasexually fight with her is not in the physical, but it's in the psychological. Men fight out here and women fight back here. And so what happens is the easiest way to take that woman out of the equation is to disqualify her and say she's not somebody that you would want to have sex with because she's a slut, and she's not somebody that you would want to marry, Mr. Perfect Guy, because she might cheat on you, or the baby might not be yours, or paternity's not assured with her because she might be. Don't look at her. Disqualify. Well, guess what? Beta male guys do exactly the same thing because they've been taught, like women, to disqualify guys. How do guys disqualify other guys? And you know exactly what I mean here. When a good-looking guy comes on and girls go, oh my God, he's so hot, HAWT, hot, right? What's the first thing out of guys' mouths? Well, he's probably gay. You know what that is? That's disqualifying. You're disqualifying that guy, saying, well, he's very good looking, but he doesn't have sex with women, so he would not be a good choice for your hypergamous, considerations. I would, on the other hand, because I'm the perfect guy, right? I might not be as good looking as him, but I'm a better choice because I actually like women. That's the bonehead mentality of intrasexual competition amongst men who are conditioned to think that fighting like women or to express themselves and get in touch with their emotional side. That's how those guys fight. It's not like, slap fighting with girls. It's disqualification, which is what women do with other women. So what do men who are women do with other men? They do the same thing. They disqualify. And so when I hear somebody say, well, you think with your little dick or your little head or whatever, you're letting the little head do the thinking for the big head. When I hear that, what that is like, it means like, oh, well, you just care about sex. You don't care about the more deeper things that I do, which are, I don't know, virtue and quality and all of these subjective things that I place such a high value on that clearly you don't, because you're getting laid more than I am. So you should be disqualified. You're trying to get validation. The only reason you want to have sex is because you like validation. The only reason you entertain women is because you're seeking validation. No. It's like, I don't even have to. What's interesting is when you got guys who naturally entertain women by doing nothing at all, they just look good. They walk down the street and they entertain women. That's why I keep telling you guys, you will not get away from entertaining women one way or the other. So you can entertain somebody in the negative and you can entertain somebody in the positive. So if people are talking about you and going, yeah, you got a little micro ween, you can get on Twitter and, oh, who hurt you? Oh, you have a little dick. All of the standard, was it basic bitch bingo? And you got a bingo card and let's see, who hurt you? I'm as a woman, like that's another block there. But playing that, it's funny, as I can play the basic bitch bingo with women and with men, because men will say the same things that are on that little basic bitch bingo card. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll post it on, I think I have it in my meme folder. I'll post it up for you guys. But so when I see guys who are saying, what is it? They'll say, oh, you're obsessed with sex. I'm going to read you, I think I might just read you this little quick part here this is from an essay that I have. It's called Little Big Head. And it's called You're All Obsessed. Okay. Self-righteous blue pill men always look to make their necessities into virtues. It also helps that men who fall into the 80% side of hypergamy and of the hypergamous Pareto curve to convince themselves and others that their sexual strategy, the one that follows socially enforced monogamy, is the moral one, or the logical, common sense one, absent the moral context. If you cannot get laid yourself, at least you can make getting laid into an obsession for the 20% of men who can. By doing so, you encourage 20% of men who women desire to have sex with to police themselves, and women by adopting your own self-superior, one woman per man sexual strategy. Pretty much every MRA I've ever listened to, and most traditional conservatives and a few MGTOWs like to qualify men who can get laid as being in some way obsessed with getting laid, right? They're obsessed. You're obsessed over it. But they're the Pussyhounds, right? They're what are they? Gyneolaters. So we're told how morally superior they themselves are for essentially thinking with the big head instead of the little one, thus confirming their own part in a monogamous sexual strategy. As I mentioned in the last essay from this one, a majority of men tend to fall out on one side of the strategic pluralism theory with respect to their sexual strategy. Low SMV men, low sexual market value men, and I'm trying to get away from beta in this, are basically forced to invest in one woman at a time if they are to successfully reproduce. This is the basis of a sociosexual order founded on socially enforced monogamy. The larger pool of men benefit reproductively if a majority of men can be relied on to follow the dictates of socially accepted, socially enforced forms of monogamy. So that's now in the case of guys who are just sort of giving up on the whole sexual marketplace, the same rules apply though. So if somebody steps outside of that, they become a pussy beggar. Or why? Like I get this from, and I get this from black pill guys. I get this from MGTOWs as well. Is if you step outside of that, if you in some way say, you know what, I'm a MGTOW, but I still like to go out with women. And I've heard guys say this all the time. You know, I think maybe these guys are maybe a little bit more on top of their game than other guys, but the thing is that they take it in the pants, man. They get kicked in the ass for saying, you know what, I'm not going to make women my mental point of origin. I'm not going to make them the metric of how I'm going to live my life, but I'm still going to be open to having sex with them. I'm going to be open to having a relationship with them. Maybe it's not going to be marriage because I'm not going to, that's a bridge too far for me, but I still want to have women in my life. I still want to, you know, I still want to be a father. Maybe I want to have kids, whatever, you know, maybe I'm not going to get married, but there has to be some sort of happy, comfortable medium, you know, in between here. I will hear these guys get run up the flagpole by guys who are the more militant, hardcore MGTOWs or black pill guys or incel guys because he's not real. That's not what a real guy would do. And I had to stop and say, why is it that these guys get offended by that? Why do they think that just because this guy can go out there and he opens, and maybe he's a good looking guy, maybe he's doing something to improve himself and improve his chances. Maybe he knows a little game. Maybe he knows game and he still considers himself a MGTOW. But I mean, can you do that? I mean, is that even legal? Is that part of the MGTOW mentality to learn game and to use game? Well, if you do, then you're a pussy beggar. Okay, well, why? Well, because you're selecting these guys out of that equation. If you're going to say you're part of our tribe and then you go and the dictates of our tribe is that you don't go and engage with women or you don't make them the metric of your life, then, you know, then you're outside, then you're the other, then you become something else. And what you become is you become their competition. So wouldn't it be great if we all just said, you know what, we're not going to shame each other anymore. You hear this all the time. Like I say, like when I did the shame video, which was about 3 weeks ago, I think it was 3 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago, the shame video, I was talking about female shame. I wasn't even talking about male shame. And then guys were saying, well, you know, you're shaming guys just by talking about shame. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And literally it was guys who were upset that I was even talking about shame in the first place because because so many guys are supposed to be, because they've been feminized or because they have prioritized women as their priority or whatever, their breeders, their, I don't know, their gyneolaters, whatever, that they in some way turn into the competition of these guys. And I think that, you know, if you're going to be part of the non-competitive group, then the one guy who does become competitive, he becomes your enemy. He becomes the jock. He becomes the guy who ridiculed you in high school. So I'm throwing that out there because what I see happening is when guys say, well, you're only getting laid because you want to get validated, or you are letting the little head do the thinking for the big head. Usually that's shaming, but the other way around. It's shaming of the guys who can actually get laid. Let me put this out there. In the past, this emphasis has also had a culling effect on the worst aspects of women's hypergamous tendencies. If all men, including the 20% who could enjoy many women, agreed to play by the old social contract and adopted monogamy as their sexual strategy, or adopted, you know, opting out of the game entirely, in spite of being able to reproduce outside it, then more men would have the opportunity to reproduce. Furthermore, women's hypergamy would also be forced to accept lower SMV men's monogamous strategy as a buffer to the worst aspects of their own. Okay, I'll explain that here in just a second. In the past, religious and social mores used to act as a buffer against hypergamy, but the compromise for women was that they could expect to have the beta bucks provisioning aspect of their hypergamy more or less provided for by the majority of men who adopted this strategy. In an evolutionary sense, protection and provisioning are already an integral part of the male mental firmware. But all of that went out the window after the sexual revolution. And what happened then was the unilaterally female controlled hormonal birth control and the sociosexual landscape that sprang out from what I call the fempowerment narrative after that. So I wanted to put that down there for you guys, because what I see is I see a lot of guys will say, well, you're shaming, or you're using female shaming tactics, or yada, yada, yada. Now, I can be sympathetic to that up to a degree until I hear guys who I can tell are coming from a female informed, female educated perspective in the first place. So when I have somebody say, well, you're using female shaming tactics, well, are you telling me that because you want to disqualify me from solving my reproductive problem at maybe your expense? So, all right, let me move into, I've got 10 minutes to get through the rest of these. I promised myself I wouldn't do more than 2 hours here. Let me see. I think I have, who was the last one? Oh, okay, Drape. I did Drape Tolman says, we entertain a woman, we accept some level of validation. Okay, so that was the validation question. Okay, so here's Miguel. Miguel says, assuming you described blue pill virtuous sniper guy who created what most would consider a successful blue pill environment, minus the pussy begging. That's I get this a lot. A lot of guys. I hope I'm reading you right here, because I don't think I got the whole thing here, Miguel. Give me 1 second. Okay, now I'm done. Assuming you described blue pill virtuous sniper guy who created what most would consider a successful blue pill environment, minus the pussy begging. I'm not sure where you're going with this, man, but here's where I think you're going with this. A lot of guys get, particularly in the blue pill side of things, the beta thinking side of things, let's just say, get very self-righteous. There's a self-righteous aspect to, well, certainly to MGTOW, certainly to black pill. I would say certainly to MRAs as well. Very much so for tradcons and sort of the neo-patriarchy kind of thing. There's always going to be that kind of self-righteousness. So it's like, I'm doing things the right way. All of those factions think that they're doing things the right way. But one unifying thing that I think that happens amongst most guys with a beta blue pill mindset is they think that they're saving the world. Like, if it weren't for beta men, we wouldn't have the computers to talk on, right? And maybe you're right. We wouldn't have the great cathedrals into Notre Dame wouldn't exist if it weren't for, hardworking blue pill guys. They're the 80%ers, right? Or we wouldn't, if it weren't for the Wright brothers, giving up on women, we wouldn't have airplanes. No, there'd be somebody else who figured out airplanes. It just wouldn't have been those guys. It wouldn't have been notable. Oh, Nikola Tesla, gosh, look at all the great things he did. Yeah, and got credit for none of them. Well, it takes beta men to keep the society running. Yeah, you might have a case for that. I agree. And maybe this is bad news, but the social conditions that made those guys great, that made their contributions to humanity great, the conditions in the environment, social environments that led them to those things are being challenged. They're being shaken to their core. When I was talking to the guys on Rule Zero yesterday, that was one of the topics that we talked about is, are things changing? Are we going back to a way of living where women are going to be more respectful of blue pill guys? Or are they going to look for guys who are, they're going to give up on the chads and they're going to start going for guys who are the computer programmers, or people who are, the welders, or people who have a trade, or people who, like, guys who are in STEM fields or whatever. Maybe you have a case for that. But I would say this is that as soon as those environmental changes happen, they're going to switch back as soon as women feel comfortable enough to go, you know what, we can vote now. We can do whatever the hell we want. We can have abortion on demand. We get all the money, primarily get most of the money in divorce. Child support is all in our favor. The world is our fucking oyster. Why do we want to stick with these guys when we don't have to? And we'll hear women, let me explain something. And M from 33 Secrets, if you're watching, please, for the love of fuck, Stop referring to open hypergamy as if it's a fucking verb. It is not a verb. It is a status. It is a condition that I've been writing about since 2012. Okay. It's not exercising her open hypergamy. That's not it. Open hypergamy is women's comfort with being open about hypergamy. It's no longer concealed. It's no longer something that's a secret anymore. It's not something, hypergamy is not something you practice. It's not something that you just, it's not like learning to play violin, man. It's a constant condition. It's a subroutine that is running constantly. And you know what? Only women are hypergamous. Put that one in your cap too. Let's see. So anyways, so I think that's where you were going with that, my friend. Let's see. That was Miguel. He said, assuming you described blue pill, virtuous sniper guy, what most consider a successful blue pill? What would most consider a successful blue pill environment? I don't know. Let me see. Okay. I got that one. Oh, and then Miguel, again, he says, when you explained upon becoming my best self, and okay, we're going to come back to that. Hang on. And internalizing red pill stuff and plates will spin themselves. I think you help me paradigm shift. Paradigm shift. Thanks. Okay, good. Well, there's two parts of this, and I know you have probably English is not your first language, so let me be as concise here as I can. The first thing is, like, when you say, one thing I want guys to be very careful of is one of the sort of buzz terms that I see getting thrown around and in my own spheres. So let's just split the hairs we need to split here. But one of the things I hear a lot is like, you need to be your best self, man. Well, fucking Tony Robbins will tell you that. Okay. Any success porn guy will tell you need to be the best self that you can. Well, no shit. Okay. I'm glad I'm the best self that I can be. That's fine. But don't, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to strive to be better than you were before and to hold yourself to standards, right? I got into it with a chick the other day who was saying, well, if guys were less judgmental like you, the world would be a better place. And I'm like, no, the world's gone to hell because not enough people are judgmental, because not enough guys hold women to standards or hold themselves to standards. Right? And you're going to say, well, you shouldn't be so judgy and judgmentally and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's shit that I've heard since like the late 70s and the early 80s. We just shouldn't judge people. No, you're damn right we should judge people. And you know what? We're going to judge people because that's just the nature of who we are and what we do. We judge. We make comparisons as human beings. But so when I hear, like, when I read the idea, well, you need to be your best self. Yeah, but recognize, like, try to consider the source who's telling you that. Okay, that's real easy, man. Dale Carnegie would tell you the same thing. Zig Ziglar would tell you the same thing. What is it? Phineas Quimby. That guy was from the 1800s. Like, be your best self. Okay, but what are you telling? How do I be my best self, Phineas? Well, beware of buzz terms like that. Yeah, you want to be your better. Sure. Like, who doesn't? That should be like something that's self-evident. It's how you're doing that, and under what pretense are you doing that? All right, and then you also said this. You said internalizing red pill stuff and spinning plates will spin themselves. Yes, well, that's the whole point, and I really need to do a full episode on this, which is internalizing the red pill, becoming the game. And I don't want that to turn into, well, here's how you do it, and here's my 12 steps to becoming the game. Boy, wouldn't that be great? But man, I could sell 1 million copies of that one, boy. Oh, here's my program to becoming the game. But God, I'm brilliant. I'm really brilliant. Becoming the game. I hated saying, like, I remember when somebody said, you are the game. And I'm like, yeah, I am the game. And I'm like, did that come out of me? But what I mean by that is, like, you've internalized, you've changed your personality. And that's really what it comes down to. So when people say, you like, remember in Caddyshack when I know this is oddball, it's completely random here, but like, remember when they're saying you need to become the ball, right? When you're like playing golf, you be the ball, and then you can putt and make these, 12-point putts. become the ball, become this, or become the game, become that, become one with it. It's like this Zen kind of principle kind of thing. That's not what I mean when I mean this. I mean that you need to take your red pill awareness, your red pill lens, your understanding of intersexual dynamics, women's nature, men's nature, your own nature, understanding the things that seeing things in a different light with respect to like who you are as a result of who your family was, or who your mom was, or who your dad was, or who your sister is, or who your brother is, who your friends are. Take all of that and use that to rebuild your personality. And you can do that. Personality is not static, but it needs to shift from being an act to being you, to being who you naturally are. So you become the game, right? Your natural response is, I'm the game. I do this. This is how I am. This is Rollo Tomassi's personality now. Didn't used to be. If you guys knew me when I was, when I was with the PPT girl, for sure, man, when I was like 25, you guys would not recognize who I am right now. Personalities change because I allowed that situation to become internalized, to become who I was, trying to find ways to please, to entertain her, right? To be the dancing monkey. And you would not recognize who I am because I had internalized something that had changed and fundamentally altered my personality. In fact, my brother even told me, he says, you're not the same person I used to know. And you'll hear when guys start telling you that, listen to them. Like you become somebody different. It's maybe sometimes that's for the best, but like usually when people are telling you that, it's probably because you're hooked on drugs or something's wrong with you, or you've done something, that has, particularly from your loved ones who will tell you you've really changed. Hopefully it's for the better, but you can internalize things and change your paradigm, whatever you want to call it. But personality is something that you can change. But you have, like, when guys say, I can't keep up the act, I can't spin all these plates, I can't do this, I can't be red pill all the time, I want to let down my hair, when can I be comfortable, how can I relax, blah, 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 blah. You can't. You know how you relax? You fundamentally change who you are, and you become something different. You become somebody different, and you do it for the better. You become your best self. Right? You do it for the better, so that your natural we call it second nature, right? It was just second nature. Well, why is it second nature? Because it's become something that's a part of you. So that's what I mean by that. Let's see. What else did you say? Sam Whiskey says their favorite is If You Were a Real Man. Okay. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. I kind of wanted to throw that one out there as well. Let's see. I think I got to all of the things on my list. I can't believe it. So yeah, let me just run that one down. Sam Whiskey for $1.99. So here's your $1.99 answer. He says their favorite, like, these are the guys who are saying, you have meaningless sex. Again, this can be anybody from MGTOWs to trad cons. This is surprisingly, this is one area where trad cons and MGTOW and MRAs and even a few self-righteous PUAs all agree, is they will find ways to tell you, if you're a real man, you wouldn't entertain women. Or a real, like I was saying before on the dancing monkey things, what did Royce said? He said, was it the hater says, the men who run game are just doing the bidding of women. Alphas don't entertain women. Well, you are going to entertain women no matter what you do, one way or another. So that's why he said at the end of that, if you can't beat them, join them. So you might as well, if that's going to be the case, then you might as well make a good showing, man. There's honestly, I don't see any. I'm glad we're getting to this at the end here, because I wanted to say this is entertaining women is a natural part of men's psychology. It's a natural part of it's part of our innate mental firmware. Does that piss you off? Does that piss you off when I say that? Like, it is innate in men to want to entertain women. It is innate in men to want to protect women. It is innate in men to want to display, and women choose. Girls choose. You know how I know that? Because what's the first thing a little boy does when he sees a cute girl on the sidewalk and he's riding his bicycle down the street? He doesn't know why he does it, but what does he start doing? And jumps off curbs and rides wheelies down the street. Hey, what's up, bitch? And you're showing off. That's a natural thing for most kids who haven't had it beaten out of them, haven't had that natural show off beaten out of them. I keep saying, I think this is my opinion. You could argue with me if you'd like, but I think that most young boys are born way more alpha, and then it takes like a world of gynocentrism and a world of females as their teachers to sort of beat it out of them and beat out their natural mental point of origin, which is themselves. But I've talked about this before from a behavioral psychology standpoint. That's just something that we do. We want to condition that response out of them because we live in a female primary social order. We only want the cream of the crop. We only want the alphas who are supposed to be alphas to act like alphas, and everybody else has to be a useful beta. This is what I call the betas in waiting. I'm going to talk about that. I think I'm going to do a show about that on Wednesday. I'm going to do a show about, in fact, I need to write that down. We should do a show about betas in waiting and how to avoid that. I mean, you guys want some actionable information, how to avoid being a beta in waiting, how to unplug. Would that be good? Would you guys like that? I'll do one about how to unplug and how to start making the red pill and red pill awareness your natural response, your second nature. We'll talk about that, I think, on Wednesday. I think that'd be a good one, especially timely considering all of this good stuff. Let's see. So anyways, I want to say that that showing off, naturally wanting to get women's attention, naturally wanting to, like, your innate response is to show off, to want to in some way display. That's what peacocks do. That's the whole thing about peacocking, right? Is to want to, like, what was it? Mystery used to have things called props, and it could be anything as simple as like just wearing a ring, or for him, a prop might have been elevator boots and black nail polish or whatever. People say, well, that's peacocking. Yes, but it's also props. There's also little things like little widgets, little things that you have the conversation starters, those kinds of things. Why would that even be a thing? Well, because women know that men naturally, like, they're whether you're showing off or you're not, you're showing off. Because you have a burden of performance. You have to perform, whether that's in your job, with your family, in the military, with women. It's not just a burden of performance, and it is a burden. I keep saying it's a burden because it is something that is unique to men. Women are, men must become. Well, how do they become? Well, by living up to their burden of performance. That's how. So I'm giving you guys the best stuff at the end. I'm sorry, I should have talked about this earlier, but men have an innate need to show off, an innate need to get that girl's attention. Even the guy who says, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to start my own business and I'm going to go to college and I'm going to make partner in the law firm and I'm going to do this, and then she'll pay attention to me, and then I'll finally have arrived, and then when I get to be 36, I'll have sexual selectivity. And you're probably right. But in the meantime, no matter what you do, when you go to the gym every day, who do you go for? Well, I go because I want to be healthy. No, you do it because you want to be healthy, but you also know that somewhere in the back of your head that women like guys who have six-pack abs and V-taper and look muscular, right? Those are the guys that they seem to want to get sex with. Well, how do I do that? Well, you go to the gym and then you can sort of flare your lats, right? Or you go to the beach and do whatever, right? And you're not like out there going, hey, baby. You don't do that. You just walk by and you look good, and women go, oh, you're entertaining those women. Sorry, you're entertaining. There you go. Maybe you're fat. Maybe you're not good looking. Guess what? Women go, you're entertaining. You're entertaining. There's nothing you can do about it. So you might, if you can't beat them, join them, just like Royce said. Last one, Zillanex says, hi, Rollo, love your videos and books. 37-year-old truck driver. I'm the son of a truck driving mother. What movie? I never dated or had friends due to social anxiety. I don't mind being single. Some people, though, think that being single is bad. It's not. You don't have to. If you enjoy, like, I would never, like, people think that I come down on betas, or I come down on guys who want to be single. I'm not coming. If that's what you want to do, God, by all means, please do. Just understand the mechanics. That's all I'm showing. I'm just showing you the freaking nuts and bolts here. What you do with those nuts and bolts, what you build is up. That's on you, man. If you're a truck driver and you're kind of like introverted or whatever, and that's your thing, I'd rather you, if you can be the best version of yourself like that, please do. You know, I'm not going to come down on you like that. People think that Rollo, he uses beta and blue pill and purple pill. And those are insults. He just calls you that and he dismisses you. No, I don't do that. I give you the breakdown. I tell you why those things are what they are. I have an essay called "Don't Hate the Beta." Do you really think that I hate betas? We'll discuss that. You know what? That'll be that'll be included for Wednesday's show. I want to do a show on well, don't hate the beta, but I also want to do a show on the betas in waiting. That should be, and how to unplug. We'll get into that on Wednesday. So I think that would be good. I see you in the chat, Drew Bay. Drew Bay. Remember Mel Bay? Mel Bay was a guitar player. He used to sell strings. Got an outro song. Actually, I do. I do have an outro song. Do you want me to play it? Should I play it? Should I play an outro song? I have an outro song. I don't know if I should put it out there. Maybe I will. Let me go. Well, hold on. Let me get to this last one here. Miguel once again says, I think my blue pill alpha father beat it out of me as a child. Ooh, that's rough, man, to have a blue pill, because blue pill alpha dads tend to be very like virtuous. Like they tend to be, I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, probably a guy who was very religious. I was blue pill, slowly turning red pill. I observed Gen X, millennial, Gen Z women. Okay, good. I'm glad you're. All right, that's enough of that. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope this went somewhere for you. There was a lot to cover when you talk about Dancing Monkey. When you talk about like why do you do the things that you do, right? Okay, all right. But see, here's the thing: is if I play this, I got to go dig it up on iTunes. So give me 1 second here. So yeah, did you guys like that one? Did you like the intro? That's just a little. That's, you know, I don't want to. I only want to show you little bits and pieces of things because the stuff that I do with my band is not ready for prime time right now. So, or it will be soon. Let's see. Where's that one that I had for you? Well, let's see. This was one that I wanted to use as outro. Let's see here. Or you guys put me on the spot here with this. So let's see. Aha, there we go. Okay. All right, I have it here. I will cue it up. All right, but before I do, I have to like say goodbye to you guys before I do this, because then I'll just let it ring out and then I will kill the stream. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Wednesday, I'll do a show on betas and waiting. We'll talk about that a little bit. I'm still working on a couple other interviews right now. I know, by the way, I wanted to drop a quick plug for Conk. Conk is doing a sort of a religion and the red pill kind of channel. Go look up his, I don't have the link right now, but if you look up Conk or religion and red pill, you'll probably find his stuff on there. I just want to encourage that because I think it's a good thing. It's brand new, so don't expect it to have a big viewership right now. So check that out. Ryan Stone has a new book out. It's called Fuck Files, and I mean fuck as in the terms FUCC files, like how that works. It's not actually a swear word. That just came out. My book will be out hopefully by the end of this month. I'm still fine-tuning lots of parts to it. I'm actually writing a chapter. I'm trying to refine the chapter on chivalry right now, so you'll understand why that's important later on. But I'm working on that part of it right now. And again, I've been using this opportunity to sort of, like I said, refine my craft. So I apologize for it not being available. But like I said, even if I had it ready to go, which I did actually, I couldn't put it out because COVID-19, man. So anyways, stay safe. I'm safe. My wife's safe. She works at a hospital, so she's been tested. She's good. Everybody in our household is good, so we're good to go. Oh, wait, hold on. Wait. Gotta put this up. One last share. Hold on, you guys. There we go. Oh, he turned his ass to you. There's my dog's ass. How do you like that? Wait, we got to put this on there too. And there we go. You guys like that? There's the Greyhound cam. So I hope you guys enjoyed all of this. If you have any questions, you have any comments, by the way, please, I'm going to beg you of a couple of things here first. If you want to support the show, do so through PayPal. The links are in the description below. I always, of course, appreciate I appreciate the super chats, but if you would be so kind as to, if you have a question and I didn't get to you, or you wanted to make a contribution, or if you have a question and you want to, you know, lay a few bucks on me on PayPal, that's fine. I'm happy to answer that way too. If it's something quick and easy, I do counseling. Again, if you have hit me up for counseling right now, I will get to you. I promise. It's just that the book has top priority right now. So as soon as that's good, I will let you guys know as soon as we're done. Let's see, I think that's about it. I don't know what else is coming up soon, but if you would be so kind as, if you like my work, please give me a good review on Amazon. And also tell your friends. It's great if you guys subscribe to this. I'm happy. Please hit like, but also if you would be so kind as to copy this link and this URL and post it in your Twitter or your Instagram or wherever it is that you frequent, that helps me out even more, because then it gets referred back. So anyways, don't be a Gyneolator. And I think that's going to do it for now. So, okay, here's your outro music.
Conan, what is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, to hear the lamentation of the women.